Hello! In this Ring of Red video, we're starting with actually a kind of a difficult decision. I definitely don't want to waste John's move. I mean, four legs good, two legs better. What I mean is they take a fair amount of time to get another turn. They have a big delay. On the other hand, attacking the anti-AFW is a bad idea because they have quick moves, so there's nothing John can do to avoid getting punched. Well, with that option out of the way, I can move him into the mountains to attack the light AFW. Not quite sure why it works out that way, but it's a possibility. Of course, that'll delay John's next turn, and, well, he doesn't need any more of that. So, maybe just having him stand by is better. I mean, they both have their troops stripped anyway. Weizsäcker, don't beat yourself up over that. He was cheating. You know that the man was cheating. One simply doesn't run away from the battlefield on completely non-functional legs without cheating. I definitely want to move Weizsäcker around a lot because he has a lot of things to say to the other team members. There's a 0% chance that Weizsäcker knows anything about Italy. We're in Japan, though. We're fighting in Japan. Oh! Now that's a tough question for Weizsäcker. He probably has no idea how appropriate a question that was, which is hilarious. Well, looking good. Ryoko's in a good position to finish off both of these enemies. Well, one at a time, but this is a good start. Now, it's a little bit of a tricky question on whether to spend some time shooting at medium range or move into close, where the accuracy goes down a bit. But when it comes to stuff like this, I tend to trust the mechanics' rifle grenades more than Ryoko's gunnery. So I'm moving on up, moving forward, especially because of that sort of thing. I believe I did mention that these light AFWs are weird. They deal more damage at medium, probably because of those main guns of theirs. Is no fun to deal with, though, I gotta say. I mean, yeah, that was most of their health in 2 shots, and of course, since those are light, they get a lot of shots. How dare those enemy machines be good at their jobs? I thought we'd established that only mine could be effective at things. Well, the good news is Ryoko is in a village, so she's going to get some free troop recovery every turn she's there. Speaking of recovery, someone needs quite a bit of it. Oh, now what's Ippei going to do? I mean, the place where he's sitting is pretty good, so having him move around to attack something would probably not work so well. And getting into a fistfight with another anti-AFW will be kind of a waste. So it's probably best for him to just stay where he is. Ayana and Jun are going to have their work cut out for them, though. Well, do something. Or more like, tell Ippei to not do something. I'd also like to talk a little bit about the map design. So there's, as you've observed, there's 3 roads. They lead to a crossroad in the middle of the map, which is not where the base is. That's in the mountains to the side. Which makes things kind of awkward and unbalanced. Well, maybe off balance is a better word. I'll definitely need to throw down some more wire. If we handle this well, I'll be able to punch them without getting punched back, but I still don't like using Ippei's shield more often than necessary, because it's... I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say that the stuff on the map right now is not the only opposition we're going to face in this mission. That's more damage than I expected from an Ippei shot. I don't know if destroyed by the wire is quite the right way to put it. But regardless, things are working out, I think. Now, I don't expect this kind of perfect outcome most of the time, because it could have been a squad with some sort of offensive skill that actually dealt damage, for example. Or they might have fired immediately and hit my shield before I got into close combat. I mean, I'm not complaining, of course. I'll go with it. And they put themselves in a great position for Emilio to finish them off. Which is exactly what's going on right now. Well, not even a puncher's required here. So I guess I can save those heat shells for later. Which is nice. But I digress. About the map design. So, it looks like the roads to the south and the east are the ones to watch most closely. Because assuming that enemy deployments sort of stick with the map, which is no guarantee, but still, I'll just go with that idea. That's a place where they can approach the base with the least warning. So I need to try to make sure that my units are never too far away to the north. Yep. It seems odd, but moving the mechanics forward to have them shoot would take longer than having him rush up and get into close combat. Oh. Okay. That means Ryoko doesn't need to move away from the village so she can get more free troop recovery. Okay. The downside is I'm going to have some trouble not getting punched here. Well, more specifically, I'm going to have some more trouble not having to use another maximum attack to dodge a punch. And what makes this situation worse is that because the anti-AFW has lost its squads, it doesn't have to stop to move its squads around at all. That's usually a delaying factor when fighting these anti-AFWs, and why I was able to remove the troops in the first place. That was very unfortunate, because missing the shot gives the enemy some free forward movement, but hitting him would have pushed it back and given me a little more space. Well, not that would have mattered that much with quick move, but as a general policy, hitting with shots is better than missing with shots. Took me all day to figure that one out. One of the things I find interesting, one of the many things, I use that phrase a lot, is that Cansado becomes more and more tricky to use as I advance throughout the game. Early on, I can just have him take anti-soldier shots and everything's great. But when the enemy gets more accurate and starts using more special shells and use troops that that require a bit more effort to kill, all of a sudden I have to use his maximum attacks very carefully in order to get him through the battle while still also doing his job. I mean, his anti-soldier skills are great, but he kind of needs that dodge to survive as well, so really tough call. This sort of situation here, mediums are kind of a strange matchup because punching them is not free. Well, we already know about that. On the other hand, I don't want to take extra time duking it out in a close-range firefight, of course. They just hit harder than I do, especially with Ippei. Also, starting the battle at medium is kind of weird because I really like to save my quick move for closing to close combat against 4-leg AFWs. And it doesn't take that long to close in, but they do get a shot off and maybe their troops can move as well, so I don't know. That's another thing that I'll need to get better judgment on by playing some more. And that's it for Epei's shield. Oh well. So what's John gonna do? That anti-AFW just moved, and the medium AFW, well, it won't be able to move to short range at least. And if it attacks John at medium range, I should be able to fight back pretty hard. So I think it'll work out. One of the weird decisions to make here is whether to have Muro do a bunch of sniping and negate the land effect penalty, or bring both soldiers in because they're better at shooting soldiers at long range. I went with the latter because John is just so good at aiming that a 20% loss in base accuracy does not actually hurt him that much. At least not when there aren't any other factors like smoke shots or nighttime conditions. I mean, look at that. Ryoko has to work a bit just to get up to something like 65 or 66% accuracy, but John gets to 80 like it's nothing. So you've probably noticed that the enemy does not miss much anymore. I can't really say why. I don't know exactly how the AI works. I'm just gonna take a wild guess and say that, at least for this situation, they're programmed to wait and aim until they reach really high accuracy, like 85 or 90 or something. Although that doesn't quite make sense because, at least when the player does that, they have a fairly high chance of hitting the leg or weapon. Oh, this is a really good time for creeping fire. Actually, even better that way around. Because the mechs might be able to survive a creep fire because their armor is so much better. But now that they're moving up to the front, they're gonna just get shot down, so... I mean, not complaining. Yeah, who needs snipe when I got this? I guess they wouldn't have survived it. I think John is kind of terrifying. In ways that haven't already been established. I mean, he had plenty of hitting power before, but the effects of creeping fire seem really brutal. Well, I got plenty of time to aim this time. Whew, they will not be able to repair that easily. So, that went about as well as I could ask for. John didn't even get hit very much. And actually, that kind of supports my idea, because you'll notice the enemy did not get many shots off, and that kind of suggests they took a long time to aim just to make sure that it hit. Oh yeah, aside from just I want to show off the conversations with Weizsäcker and the others, it's part of the requirement for getting the Green Squad in this map. There's no indication that this is the case, of course, because green troops never have any clue on how to get them. But this type of requirement feels especially weird. In particular, what I have to do is have Weizsäcker talk with Kinsato, who is on the opposite side of the map at the start, and is probably busy trying to contend with the enemy's attack. And part of the reason he's in so much trouble is that both of my anti-FWs were put on the same side of the map at the start, instead of an even split, which would have made this much easier. Well, I didn't bring two mechanics out in front this time, mostly because electric wire is amazing against anti-AFWs, and this enemy has no way to deal with it. Could you have at least hit with the first round, though? That would have been ideal. I decided not to put down second E-wire, and the reason for that is I think it would be kind of funny, or at least effective, if I let it step forward and try to hit me, because then I could get a free counterattack on it. You've seen that tactic before, of course. However, I'd probably deal more damage overall with the tactic that I actually chose, which is keep using E-wire, just put both levels of damage on their legs in a reliable way, or, well, actually mines are reliable too when they try getting close combat, but I can get more shots this way, that's the main thing. Never mind, I'm just second-guessing myself all the time. I was actually correct about my initial plan. No, I wasn't. Alright, so this is when I try to figure out what I was doing and form a plan based on the way I see things at the moment, but it turns out that past me had a much better plan. I'd say that this is an indication that I should just talk while I'm playing, except that wouldn't synchronize well with me speeding things up all over the place. So I don't know what to say. Except, wow, Ryoko's Rapid Punch is amazing. Oh, that's not good. That is very not good. They're almost certainly going to fire that APC shell as well. Yeah. So I think we can pretty safely say that Kinsato cannot hold a front line anymore. He used to be able to thanks to dodge action in the early maps, but ever since anti-armor shells started coming into common use, Kinsado kind of lost that role. It's a shame too, because being a dodge troll with him was kind of fun. I mean, I considered using a dodge action here, but he's going to get some damage fall off even if it does hit me. Plus it would get me closer to the exit anyway. But as I suspected, it spent a fair amount of time aiming there, so yeah, there's no time for it to set up another shot before I get out of there. But Kinsado's definitely gonna back off next time he gets a turn. I actually have to think carefully about how I'm gonna use him from now on, because he's definitely going to have to attack enemies on the front line when there are several enemies left, because the whole point is to weaken enemies so that others can start finishing them off and reducing their numbers. But that means that he could easily be attacked by enemies once they get their turns, so planning things out is going to be, well, okay, that's kind of the entire point of the game. And here I have a decision of which enemy to attack. Now, if I have Jun move forward, he's going to be kind of vulnerable, and I won't be able to remove the medium AFW in time. So I figure I'm going to attack the medium one first. I mean, that's the one that's going to move next anyway. And to figure out how that's going to go, we'll have to see the next video. Later.